Anxiety is the subtle form of fear. Mankind oscillates with anger, violence, desire, sorrow, worry, fear, jealousy, enviousness, laughter, and sometimes named as peace, which is primarily absence of the previous emotions. As per me, anxiety is one of the sources for chronic problems. You may wonder its relation to chronic problems. Many have repetitive chronic problems like body pains, aches, nerve aches, tingling, frequently falling ill with fever, sinus, headaches, etc. Most of these chronic problems are backed by the subtle current of fear, which is anxiety. Let us deep dive with few examples of anxiety. Imagine you are up for a promotion. You have written your contributions and submitted them to the committee. Let's say the committee is going to review after a week. Before the committee reviews, you are constantly thinking on what needs to be bettered about the contributions. You may indulge into previous cases, who got promoted and who got rejected. Not just that, you may probe about committee members and see how you can softly influence them. When the mind is filled with thoughts about possible outcomes, the state of mind is coined as anxiety. Now let's take the case of the exam. Just before announcing the results, the state of mind is filled with possible outcomes like pass or fail. If you are confident about the pass, perhaps nervous about the marks and the possible rank. This is typical student anxiety. Let us take my favorite case. If you are a software engineer, you committed a new diff. You are constantly checking about the review status before being approved. While you may be looking for valid reviewer comments, few are concerned about the possible loss of reputation. If the diff looks silly, it will lead to loss of respect. To manage power in any company, respect is super essential. This is bound to create nervousness. This state of mind is anxiety. It is not just with employees. Anxiety is prevalent with business people, homemakers, farmers, etc. The state of being glued for a possible outcome or a definitive state of living makes the mind continuously thinks about it. This anxiety prevails in every walk of life. Now that we spoke enough about anxiety, you may question why it is the source of chronic illness. It is somewhat difficult to answer but easy to find out by yourself. I suggest taking a deep breath when you identify yourself in the state of anxiety and observe the state of the consciousness. Now, imagine yourself with a snake nearby. This imagination is bound to produce the fearful state in the consciousness. The state of consciousness during anxiety is almost the same as that of fear except the magnitude. Once you identify that, check out how much of time is spent with anxiety. It is all throughout the day, whereas fear comes and goes in short bursts. The very presence of anxiety or underlying current of fear for a longer time is the source of chronic problems that many go through. I am not a doctor, so do not take me as source of truth. However, observe yourself. Hypothetically, or by intensely working out with me till now, you may agree that anxiety can be a cause of chronic problems. Let us go into the side effects of anxiety. As one is constantly brooding on thoughts to get the most wanted outcome or arrest losing something that is already existing, the mind, as a defensive instrument, has to calculate the negative outcome. While going through the steps in negative outcome, the mind at its depth fears about the outcome, and fuels the energy of anxiety further. This goes into a loop. I call it as vicious circle, never ending, sometimes repeating exactly what it went through previously with no definitive outcome but further strengthening the anxiety. As one dwells in anxiety for most of the time, the mind starts computing the possible negative outcomes in other parts of life. It spills beyond the issue it is thinking upon. It slowly casts its shadow into getting angry for the most minimal reason. If one controls this anger, it transfers into considering oneself with low esteem, which broods into depression. It also translates into showing superiority whenever possible, basically condemning other people or their deeds to make oneself at a higher pedestal. If you are working out the effects of anxiety as I am doing now, you should be at a point on how to be free from anxiety. The solution to a problem lies in understanding the problem. You might have already identified that anxiety is a subtle undercurrent of fear. It is glued to a specific outcome. This gluing nature is the attachment to the possible outcome. Now, it brings the important question, why am I attached to a specific outcome? How can I be free from this attachment? The correct or most apt answer, there is no I to begin with, and hence there is never a problem to solve. But this answer does not help, as there is no easy way to get enlightened about the false existence of I. So we start slow. To be free from anxiety, understand the need of the article you are possessing to safeguard or the need to gain it. Put this question, do I really need this? Can I live without it? Surprisingly, most of the time, you can live. I would advocate to live with what is needed. Remember, 1 brings 2, 2 brings 3, 3 brings 4, and so on. If you start living with minimal things, it is bound to create an atmosphere of satisfaction. If you start living and stop the comparison in every part of life, it is bound to create intense satisfaction and starts diffusing anxiety. As a concept, fully knowing that concepts are the source of divisibility, but still useful in the beginning phase, I want you to imbibe these concepts. Concept number 1, I do not lack a thing in the world. True or false, but keep repeating. It will be eventually true, as it is the single most truth in the universe. Concept 2, accept yourself. Accepting means accepting your negative thoughts, accepting your failures, accepting your mistakes, accepting your current state as it is. Try these concepts and let me know how it helped your life.